These men have been suing Michael Jackson's estate, trying to obtain hundreds of millions of dollars for the last 6 years. And during that court case, which has been ongoing for the last 6 years, there has been generated thousands of pages of court documents which, along the way, have severely discredited these men. In fact, Wade Robson was found in that lawsuit to have lied under oath so egregiously that the judge threw out his entire witness statement and said that no rational juror could ever believe his account. He was forced, as part of this lawsuit, to release as evidence all of his emails. And those emails revealed that, firstly, that while he was constructing his lawsuit, he was researching other people's allegations about Michael Jackson and emailing them to himself. And also that he found one old tabloid story about him, and he emailed it to his mother. And he said, "Do you remember any of this? Is any of this true?" His mother replied to that email and said, verbatim, said, "Wow, none of this is true." And then Wade Robson included the story in his account anyway. So there is significant evidence that these guys are not telling the truth. And as I say, we're not talking about stories that are changing over decades. We're talking about somebody who's come forward quite recently, within the last couple of years, and consistently changes their story. The same is true of the other accuser.
Charles, this case is ongoing, isn't it, in America at the moment? When does it conclude? When will we know? Because all this evidence will be weighed up and balanced and looked at, won't it?
Well, both of these men have had their lawsuit thrown out of court twice already, but they're in the middle of an appeal. And it's important to note that the TV show, Leaving Neverland, it omits all of this information. It's 4 hours long at its original running time, and at no point in the 4 hours does it find even 5 seconds to tell you that these men are suing Michael Jackson's estate for hundreds of millions of dollars. In the documentary, these men, particularly Wade Robson, name other boys who they say were groomed to replace them. And these boys are now men, and they absolutely refute that. One of them is now considering suing the filmmakers. He's made an announcement that he's going to sue. And they say, we were given absolutely no right of reply, and what you've said about us in the documentary is not true.
It's interesting though, Charles, isn't it? Because whether you believe these latest accusations or not, do you think Michael Jackson's reputation is tarnished to the point where we shouldn't be playing his music on BBC Radio Kent? Should we follow suit, BBC Radio 2?
No, we live in a civilized society with a justice system. We believe in a jury system, and if we don't believe in a jury system, then we live in anarchy. Michael Jackson was scrutinized in a 5-month public trial that almost killed him, and eventually really did kill him, the trauma from that trial. And he was completely exonerated by an impartial jury. During that trial, they brought in allegations of the Geordie Chandler case as 1108 prior bad acts evidence. He was acquitted. These two men do not have credible allegations. Their allegations don't hold up to scrutiny. There is ample public record information which undermines them. We do not assume guilt without proof,
very clear.
Beyond reasonable doubt.
Indeed. Charles, good to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
But I did not know about this, decade-long FBI surveillance. I mean, to me, that is a very important fact. That's a key fact that suggests that if there was anything, because we all remember that time. We remember that time when there was a lot of pressure on Michael Jackson. If he was under FBI surveillance, trust and believe if there was something there to be found, they would have moved on it. It's my belief.
Michael? And it would have leaked.
Yeah.
And that was the first I've heard that. I didn't even know. What year was that, Roland? When was that?
That was, first of all, in 2009, the FBI released their Michael Jackson FBI file. Folks, if you actually go to actually, let me pull it up right here. Here we go to my iPad. If you go to vault.fbi.gov, you will actually see the FBI files there on Michael Jackson. And so you'll see what they have here. And I'm going to read this here. Michael Jackson, 1958 to 2009, was a famous singer and entertainer. Between 1993 and 1994, and separately between 2004 and 2005, Jackson was investigated by California law enforcement agencies for possible child molestation. He was acquitted of all such charges. The FBI provided technical and investigative assistance to these agencies during the cases. The Bureau also investigated threats made against Mr. Jackson and others by an individual who was later in prison for these crimes. These investigations occurred between 1992 and 2005.
The Wade Robeson story is on paper is a complete joke. And I purposely went into watching the Neverland movie. I don't want to call it a documentary because it's ridiculously one-sided, even if Jackson is guilty. And let me just say, I hate this subject, Glenn. I hate being the person that has to stand up and say, wait a minute, but no one else wants to do this. My dog in this hunt is not Michael Jackson. I don't care about Michael Jackson. I care about the truth, and I really, really care about the rules we're creating for how we evaluate these kind of stories.
Agreed.
Because that is radically changing in a very dangerous way.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Wade Robeson story is allowed to stand, then I seriously, Glenn, I do not know how a rich, famous person is able to defend themselves against any allegation, because I have evaluated these kind of stories for years now, and this one is the most inexplicable that I have ever seen.
Why do you say that?
At 22, in the midst of a massive criminal trial, he is not just a witness for Michael Jackson. He is Michael Jackson's first defense witness. I know Michael Jackson's attorney, Tom Mesereau, very well here in Los Angeles. Tom Mesereau is a brilliant guy. He believes Michael Jackson is innocent. I do not know if he is or not. I'm agnostic on that issue. But as far as Wade Robeson, there is no way in hell that Tom Mesereau or Michael Jackson, if he's a criminal mastermind, is going to put Wade Robeson on the stand first in his criminal trial if he's abused him for 7 years, and that Tom Mesereau, who has interviewed him vigorously, his family vigorously, is going to put him on the stand first. This is the testimony, which was vigorously defending Jackson, is only one of 1,000 data points that continue well after the trial and well after Jackson's death that Robeson was never abused. And then it only shifts immediately after, when Michael Jackson is dead and Robeson loses out on the job to choreograph a Cirque du Soleil Michael Jackson show in Las Vegas. And then he sues for millions of dollars. The first time he ever tells a story to anyone. And in the course of that lawsuit, the discovery shows how he created his story. And, even I, in my column, I don't think I accurately described how that lawsuit got adjudicated. It got adjudicated because of statute of limitations concerns, and that sounds like, there was nothing about the merit. That's not really accurate. What really happened is it was statute of limitations concern, and then when he tried to figure out a loophole around the statute of limitations, the judge determined that he had blatantly perjured himself, as proven by emails, and threw out his entire testimony.
Wow.
I mean, so if Wade Robeson is to be believed and accepted in a documentary with zero pushback, I mean, zero skeptical questioning, zero informing the audience in the first hour of some of these basic facts, then I really, honestly, Glenn, I do not know how anyone years later can possibly defend themselves.
And as far as making anybody testify, I would love for Wade Robeson to show me the subpoena he never got. I simply called him and told him, listen, we need to get you up there by such and such a date. I was in regular communication with his sister, who testified. I was in regular communication with his mother, who testified. So when I hear some of these allegations, I'm trying not to say the stupidity level. The absurdity level is insane. And they say that the legal team forced them. Back to what I was saying initially, that there was no legal team. There's only two people that were communicating with the witnesses. One was me and my wife, Lisa. I also want to point out that this, for me, is about the truth of the matter, because I was not friends with Michael, and I'm not going to pretend that I had any relationship with him at all. I didn't. Michael would come into court and he would say, "Good morning, Scott. Thank you for being here." We never had a conversation beyond that.
Right.
I'm defending the truth, and I'm defending my work. Again, right. Robson could not, if this happened to Robson, he would have never, ever, ever gotten by me before. We would not have lost this case. Or I'm sorry, we would not have won this case.
Right.
If Robson was lying. We just wouldn't. He wasn't that good. Can you imagine your first witness getting up there and cracking? Again, you know, the prosecution's all amped up and they're going to just chomp on you right away. How does, when your first witness gets up there, how does he not fold under the pressure? Other than he was just telling the truth. And now all of a sudden, you know, there's no money in it when you're telling the truth up there.
No.
Okay, Yo Folks 3.